morning and welcome back to the Devils in the Detail podcast.
My name is Michael.
And my name is Logan.
Today we welcome former NFL first-round draft pick and national championship Ohio State Buckeye Bobby Carpenter.
At Ohio State, he started every game as a true freshman and helped lead the Buckeyes to a national championship in 2002. By the time he was done, he became a third-team All-American.
Bobby then was drafted in the first round by the Dallas Cowboys and went on to play 7 seasons in the NFL.
Carpenter now owns a plumbing business in the Columbus area, along with starting in his podcast and makes appearances on the Pat McAfee Show.
Now let's get into the interview.
He is a sophomore. He's got the job, learning how to do it. And he's going to get decked inside the 5 by Bobby Carpenter.
Hi, Bobby. Thanks for coming out onto our podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Michael. Logan, thank you for having me on.
You're welcome. Let's get to the questions. Growing up, who was someone who inspired you?
Oh, goodness. Growing up, someone who that inspired me. It's a really good question. You always look at your, professional athletes. I always like playing sports. And so there's some guys out there that I always loved playing, loved watching. And, you try to emulate a little bit. Some guys at Ohio State, whether it was like Eddie George or Mike Vrabel were guys like that. But really, I had a couple teachers who were really big. My middle school history teacher was really good. Mr. Bailey, our English teacher who co-taught with him, Mrs. Henderson, really inspired me a lot to want to go out to achieve. And honestly, I know people as they get older, they probably say this a little bit more, but my parents, they did a lot for me growing up, and they achieved a lot in this world, and they invested a ton into my brothers and I. And my dad, played in the NFL. He was our high school coach growing up. He coached me in junior high, and I always wanted to try to follow in his footsteps and do the very best I could to hopefully make him proud.
What was it like growing up with your dad in the NFL?
He was done playing by the time I was about 4 years old, so I really didn't get a chance to experience it. It was cool, the fact that I've got to live in a lot of different cities, in a lot of different states growing up. And by the time we were 6, we moved back to Ohio. And when I was like 7 and a half, maybe 8, we'd moved into our house that my parents still live in Lancaster, Ohio. But we got a chance to travel when I was growing up some. We'd go back to New Jersey especially. And our neighbors that we lived beside, we played with the Giants, we were very close with. And we'd go there and we'd get a chance to go visit the Giants stadium. And his trainer is still the head trainer there for the New York Giants. And so when I would play him, I would go talk to him. Him and my dad were very, very close. And it was a pretty cool experience. I didn't know any different. So that was just kind of it. And, it was a little bit unique when I'd walk down the hall in high school. My dad's picture was on the wall right there by the gym and in the Hall of Fame. But I guess you just know what you know growing up. And so it was a pretty cool experience, but one that was definitely unique.
That's cool. What was your favorite moment playing football?
Oh, goodness, favorite moment. There's almost too many to talk about. Favorite moment in the NFL was probably got drafted by the Cowboys, and then I ended up with the Lions after a couple years later, and I was playing against one of my best friends and Tony Romo, and got a chance to get a pick six, an interception return for a touchdown against them, and a big comeback that we had with the Lions, and it was in Dallas, so you always like playing great against your former teams, and my wife was there to see it, and to talk to a lot of my friends after the game was very special. And so that was probably it in the NFL. And then in college, it's tough to top winning a national championship. We did that my freshman year, and some of the victories against Michigan. But probably my favorite moment in college was we got a chance to celebrate after the Michigan game up in 2005 up in Ann Arbor. I'd broken my ankle, and we won the game. Eddie George was our honorary captain, a guy who I'd always grown up looking up to. And he was there celebrating with us after the game. And that was a really cool experience because it was a kind of a full circle. He had just retired from playing in his final year with the Cowboys, which is where I got drafted the next season. And it was someone that I always grew up wanting to, be like, and he had never got a win up in Michigan. And so for him to be a part of that with us was really special.
That's cool. What was it like being drafted in the first round?
Getting drafted, I think is, it's the end of one journey and the start of another. And it was the culmination of really probably about 20 years, 18, 17 years of work since I was, probably 4 or 5 years old. I'd been playing sports, whether it was swimming, basketball, soccer, track, football, whatever it was, always just working to try to be the best athlete I could, working really hard at school to make sure I had good enough grades so I could be able to get into the college that I wanted to be able to go to. And so getting drafted was kind of the end of the journey of working to get to the final stage. And it's something that I always dreamed of. And my dad always told me the journey was better than the destination. So all that work, all my friends, my coaches, I said they were as much a part of that as I was. So it was a really special day, but it was the start of a whole lot more work that ultimately happened because then it was ultimately my job. And I was having to go out there and make sure I performed to keep it and and at that point then to provide for my family as well.
That's super cool.
Who was your favorite teammate and why were they your favorite?
That's tough. I don't know if I can just say one. I'll make a lot of guys really mad at me. Uh, Gosh, it was tough. We had a great class when I was at Ohio State that came in with, AJ Hawk and Troy Smith and Maurice Claret, Nate Sally, Santonio Holmes, Nick Mangold, Rob Sims. Like all, we were really, really close together, and it was really cool. Doug Daddish, who's still a good friend of mine, and now guys, as you get older, like the best part I have of that is like our kids get to hang out and they play together and they've played some sports with and against each other. And that's some of the really good stuff because we don't get to hang out very often. And I love some of my friends dearly. I get a chance to see AJ now mostly at our kids' sporting events, whether it's lacrosse tournament or whatever it might be. Coach football together, our boys play together for a year, and that's kind of it. Maybe we go to dinner once every 4 or 5 months, but we just don't get to see each other as much. Or we do podcasts and things like this, and that's it's our way of getting to talk to each other and a little bit of catching up. And in the NFL, man, I had a lot of great friends. I loved Matt Stafford. I got to know him as a baby. Like he was barely in the league. Him and his wife weren't even married yet at the time, and I don't even think she was 21. In Dallas, Tony Romo, Jason Witten, DeMarcus Ware. I mean, Zach Thomas was an idol of mine that I got to play with. Keith Brooking too. We just had a lot of special guys. I was fortunate, really, to play with a lot of great, great men who were great football players, great workers, but also great people.
That's cool. We interviewed Coach Tressel a couple weeks ago. What is something you learned from him that would be good for us to know?
Oh goodness. Man, there's a lot of great things. Hold on, let me pull something out real quick. So there's two things that I always remember about Coach Tress. Number one, as we had the winner's manual right here. And on the back, we had the blocko of life of, the 6 things that he thought were most important to us. And in here every day, there was a section that we'd have called quiet time. And we would go through and you'd write down um, some of the different things that you were thankful or grateful for on that particular day and what that meant to you. Uh, and because he said it's impossible to be unhappy and grateful at the same time. And then probably the other great thing that he did is we would have to fill out goal sheets. I encourage everybody to make goals. I have my kids make goals, but we try to do goals as a family. My dad was big on making goals because especially when you write them down, because when you write them down, you're far more likely to achieve them. And we would fill out goal sheets every year, and from your junior, sophomore, junior, and senior year, and freshman too. And he gave back all of our goal sheets. I have all 4 of them here, and you have to meet with them your junior and senior year, and he would take notes on it, write some things down around it, and he gave all those back to us when he moved recently, and it was awesome to get a chance to see all of that and to look at my goals. And some of them have expired as far as their ability for me to complete them because there were, playing goals and things like that that I never got to achieve. But a lot of the things that I put down, I was able to achieve. And guys, they weren't just sports, it was family goals, academic goals, spiritual goals, fitness, lifelong fitness goals, faith-based goals. There's all kinds of stuff in there. And so that was probably one of the biggest things that I always learned is to always take some moment in the morning for gratitude, and then to always make sure that you have goals and then how you're planning to accomplish those goals. And if you do that, you have a pretty good chance of being able to complete most of them.
Wow, that's cool. Thanks again for joining us again, Bobby. We hope you enjoyed our interview. That's a
Thank you so-
wrap. We're out.
Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it.